A lot of my fellow colleagues have had Professor Eleazar Fernandez, who was at United for quite a few years. And he actually wrote something that some of us have shared, and I want to share with you now. Here starts, I'll read it to you. After the deadly shooting at the Minneapolis Catholic School, House Speaker Mike Johnson declared, "It's important that politicians on either side of the aisle do not politicize a moment like this. At the end of the day, the problem in these situations is not guns, it's the human heart." Eleazar says this is a tired pattern of deflection and denial. By reducing the problem to a heart issue, Johnson individualizes what is clearly systemic. Evil is not only personal, it is also institutional and political. When children are gunned down, the problem is not only one person's broken heart, but the society that makes such violence predictable. Saying it is not guns ignores the obvious. The shooter did not kill with his heart. He killed with a firearm. Other nations also face anger, alienation, and even hatred, but they do not suffer our endless stream of mass shootings. Why? Because they regulate weapons. To deny that is not wisdom, but ideology. Johnson's warning not only to politicize is itself political. It protects the status quo and silences grieving communities who demand change. Refusing to name the political dimensions of shootings is a political decision that leaves lives at risk. And violence is rarely random. It often targets particular communities, children in schools, worshipers in churches or synagogues, shoppers in black neighborhoods. These killings are shaped by ideology and enabled by weapons that should never be so easy to obtain. At stake is more than policy. Guns in America have become entangled with ideology and in twisted morality. They are worshipped as symbols of freedom and power, defended by more fiercely than the lives of children. The choice is clear. Either we act to save lives, or we accept a culture of death. Here ends the reading. I don't know about all of you, but I've been angry all week because, again, we're having to deal with this. And I think I'm also angry at the politicians such as our governor and the mayor of Minneapolis, who are saying the same things that we hear every single time these things happen. Things have to change. Well, no duh. And yet they don't. So maybe we need to stop saying things should change. This should be the last time we have to talk about this. We're gonna make some changes. Instead, we need to move into action. And as I've been ruminating on this all week, listening to the news and getting fired up, it dawned on me how Jesus really exemplified where we are right now. He walked into a temple in Israel, in Jerusalem, and saw how the evil was infiltrating sacred space. Now granted, these were people who were selling things. They were profiting. They weren't killing. So there is a difference there. And yet, he he is downright disgusted. And what does he do? He throws the tables up. He knocks over the carts. And he says, enough. So much so that that is something that we hear at least once a year throughout our liturgical season. That's how important it is to Christians around the world. And yet we have Christians in this nation who have decided that they will not just talk about Christ in certain ways, they will also idolize the new Baal weapons. Now, as a person who grew up in rural Minnesota, I have no problem with shotguns if you want to go hunting or even having your own protection. But how many do you need? Why would you decide that the way you're going to deal with your issues is to kill somebody else? We can say in this country, as we've been saying since Columbine, we need to do better with our mental health system, which is true. It's very true. And yet there again, as Eleazar is saying, that is just trying to make everything nice. The problem is that we have a Baal amongst our nation. That we put our guns before children. Shame on us. I have to stand with Jesus. I have to be right there with him, throwing up the tables and saying enough. We Christians that understand the love of God and how we all have a place to belong, we try our best to stay even keeled, to be the healing voice. And yet, Jesus doesn't always do that. Jesus calls out the people who are doing wrong, who are hurting others. And he's not quiet about it. He's not nice about it. And yet, he keeps the love of God on his lips. We in this country have to do that. And we have to show that to those Christians who are not following Jesus' words. It's not going to be pretty. But niceness has to go out sometimes. And we have to get real. And if it means that we have to say words like pissed off, then let's do that. If we need to upend the cart, let's do that. If we're going to hold people accountable to not only each other, to what God has laid out for us, we have to be the solution, not part of the problem. In a moment, Kristen is going to play a song for us from the Medley that I've had the privilege of hearing several times in person. And this will be instead of our hymn today. But before we do, I want to end with the words from this song. When borders are being drawn and families are torn at the seams, it's getting harder and harder to see what any of this means. When hate is having its day and children are shot in the street, sometimes there's no way death has lost its sting. Why are things so broken? Again and again we pray. Where has all the mercy gone? The writing's on the wall. We just wish that we could sleep. We want to close our eyes. We're not who we want to be. We look in the mirror and we don't look like the face that we find. We pray that you are listening, God. Forgive us when we're not. We are looking for your face. We're calling out your name. And if we're silent, even the stones will cry. Hold us, show us, again and again. remains.